Hey, Aaron Rabinowitz here for Red Giant TV. In the last few tutorials from Seth Worley, he revisited effects from plot device that you've been asking us about. And I have to tell you, most of you have been asking about how to blow stuff up. But in this episode of Red Giant TV, he's taking a departure from simulated science fiction violence and moving into a new area of hilarious comical violence. Inspired by Scott Pilgrim, Seth will show us how to create an awesome fight sequence with supporting text to make it that much funnier. Best of all, at least for me, Seth gets punched multiple times. Oh, this should be good.
Punch out. First, what you want to do is get two cameras, steal them, find them, whatever, and film somebody punching left and right so you can take both of these images and stitch them together. Why? We want to keyframe our camera. We want to animate our camera. We want to be able to move the camera back and forth and customize the move exactly as we want. So get your friends, film them in front of green screen on their own, acting as if they're getting punched by ghosts. Then bring it all into After Effects. We've got both our sides, left and right cameras, and we're going to create a camera, and we're going to set it at 35 millimeter and make sure that depth of field is off. Click OK, and then we're going to make both these layers 3D, and then we're going to move the camera back so that we have a good wide view. Basically, then we're going to take both the shots and move them to where they're side by side, to where they're overlapping each other. It helps to make the top layer turn down the opacity so that you can kind of see what you're working with. And the reason we're doing this is so that we have a high definition and wide amount of visual that we can move the camera back and forth on. We're going to create a mask here so that we can kind of blur the edges between to help stitch the images together. So we'll create a mask, and then we will add a feather to that mask. And so that way they stitch together a little more seamlessly. The shot's in motion so we can get away with kind of a crude stitch. And then we'll repeat and do the same thing for the other camera, for the other side. So then next what we're going to do is we're going to bring in our first victim. Here it's me getting punched in the face. Something Aaron Rabinowitz has been asking for a while. Turn the opacity down so that we can see me and then see what we're working with. And what we're working with is me getting punched in the face. We move this over to where the hand is successfully meeting the face, and then we'll move it about through time to make sure that I'm successfully reacting to the hand in my face. And then that should work. So then we'll repeat that with our victim Matt here. Make sure all of these shots are lined up in time and in space. So we will then successfully have a sequence of us getting punched in the guts and the face by Micah. I really could just watch this over and over. So then we want to keyframe our camera. We want to animate our camera. This is the reason that we did the whole double shot stitching thing. It's really just a matter of going through and moving the camera around and keyframing and making sure that we are going back and forth between the two victims as he punches them. You want the camera to always be moving, so that you match the style, but you only want the most drastic movements to be the moves from side to side. For whenever we change sides, that's when you want it to be drastic and dramatic. But when you are focused on one subject, I say just push in or pull back for a brief period of time, so that in very subtle ways it really helps, because the camera's going to move so frequently. It's great if the moves themselves are subtle. Now we're going to want to prepare to key this stuff, so we're going to create a mask around to where we're only getting us and the green, and we will then we might have to keyframe this mask a little bit. And like when my arm goes off the screen, we'll want to go down here and keyframe the masks, and then do the same for Matt as well, and the other shots of me and Matt. And then we can add some mask points to the masks that we created for the feathered edge of Micah stuff, just so we can have as little we have to have as little to work with as possible, and I mean as little green and an area to have to remove as possible. So once that's done, we're gonna open key correct folder and grab smooth screen and drop that onto all of our layers. Go up to this the dropper and select the screen color right here, and then it immediately smooths that green out, which is really, really, really helpful. And we do that for all the layers. And then once that's done, we're going to add Primat Keyer. Once again, this genius keying tool allows us to select our background, and then we can select our foreground. and it's like exceptionally easy keying and cleanup. And we'll do that for all of our layers so that we are removing the green from all of our layers. Now Micah, you can see, is keyed, so then we'll key me and Matt as well. And see, I'm even wearing like an army gray-green shirt there, and it's able to remove the green background and keep my shirt on, thank God. Worth mentioning are the black dots that are all over this green screen, which may or may not have happened from firecrackers and possibly blowing up a piñata.
I'm so excited!
In this particular case, it's okay because we're going to actually be comping it onto a black background, so we don't have to worry too much about these black dots because they're going to blend right in with our background. We're going to add Spill Killer from Key Correct to get rid of this green spill that we're getting on the edges and stuff. Like we're going to immediately turn the tolerance down. So if you look at Micah's arm, you can see the difference. Like there, that little bit of green goes away, and it actually helps across the board. So we'll add Spill Killer to all of our layers now with those settings that we had on Micah's shot. And then now we have these. We have something interesting happens is that the shot at the end of me getting hit, it shuts off before the shot is over. So we're actually going to have to keyframe me to fall out of frame. So we'll here and keyframe the position and the Z rotation to simulate me kind of dipping and falling out of frame. You can see there, right there is where you lose the clip. So I will then, using keyframes and stuff, we'll move the rotation and the position down so that when it plays back, it looks as if I actually fell out of frame. So that works pretty well. Next thing we want to do is get rid of the white borders, the big white lines above Micah. Those are from the green screens behind him. So we're going to use Key Correct's wire rig remover. And the reason to use this, it's significantly more powerful than CC simple wire removal in that it allows you to feather it and stitching. We'll get to that. So basically, you take these points and you want to line them up to where it is, covering up, getting rid of as much of the white line as possible, at least the part that interacts with Micah. And we're going to actually, we can increase the width and increase the feather. For replacement, we're going to use stitch. And this actually is going to allow us, because the shot is in motion so frequently, we're going to be able to let that actually, we're going to keep it going over Micah. So yes, we can see this weird blurry line over Micah, but the shot will be moving very fast and we will not notice it. But we do want to, at the very beginning of the shot and the very end of the shot, we are going to be sitting still on his face and focused on it. So we want to keyframe the beginning and end so that at the very beginning there's not the wire removal line going over his face. So there we go. Now we've got part of the white border missing on the left side. So we're actually just going to use the eraser tool. We double click on our layer and grab our eraser tool, make sure duration is set to constant, and then on the first frame of our timeline, we'll go in and we'll just erase the white line above his head, because he doesn't ever go up in that. His head doesn't go up in that area, so we can just keep that erased. So there you go. And now at the very end, you notice we have this white bar right there. So we're going to change our eraser to single frame, and then we're going to go in and just layer frame by frame at the very end and erase that white line. And very, very crude work, but it'll work for the shot we're doing. And then you want to repeat the same thing on the right side, the right camera shot. Exactly what we did. Using the wire removal for the majority of the shot, and then erasing the top at the very end. So now there we go. Our white borders are gone. Now we want to create a new composition, and we want to call it particles. It's particle time. And we're going to create these particles that fly off of their face. So once we have our comp open, we'll create a new solid, and we will call it particular, and then we will apply particular. And then in particular, we're going to go up to the presets, and we're going to select Crazy Thing HD, which is not a picture of me. It is actually this really cool preset in particular. And what I like about this preset is that it utilizes the velocity from motion, which means that as it flies about, it's throwing particles and slinging them all over the place. We're going to go up here to the position, because right now it has an expression on it that's making it fly around randomly. We're going to press Alt and click on the timer by position, now keeping it sitting still. Go down to Physics and Air, and we're going to turn the wind back to maybe -75 or something. We don't want it flying that high up. We'll change our wind of our Y and our wind of our Z as well, so it's kind of flying a little bit toward the camera. And then when that's done, we're going to move it closer to us on the Z-axis, and then maybe make our particles maybe 100 per second. And then we want to go to the first frame and click the timer of our particles, because we only want a burst of particles. We go a few frames over and click 0, so now only at the beginning is there going to be a short burst of particles. And then we're going to turn our velocity up, change our direction to outwards. And so now we had this just little pop burst of particles, which is exactly what we want. Maybe we want a little bit, maybe we want, a little less velocity. Maybe we want a few more particles. So we go to the beginning and turn them up a little bit. Customize it, keep working on it until it doesn't look terrible. And then we'll go to the actual particles themselves, and we're going to change the color. We're going to desaturate it a little bit. And we're going to make it a little more cyan as well than just blue. Then we're going to change the size, make the size random higher, and then maybe turn the size down a little bit, the size itself. Just, whatever you want. Transfer mode, we're going to change to add, and then we're going to change the particle type to be a glow sphere. Now what we want to do is we want to fling the particles. So at the very beginning, the very first frame, we're going to create a keyframe for the position, and then we'll go a little farther in the timeline, and we will then take our position and move it over to the right. So that's quickly, jotting over to the right, and therefore it's flinging our particles toward the right and up into the air. So now we're going to bring that particle comp into our original comp, and we drop it in, and we'll make it 3D. And then we're going to position it onto my face at the glorious moment that Micah's hand meets my face. So now it will simulate as Micah punches my face then emits several blue sparkles to, blue shiny flakes, much like in real life. And so the blue shiny flakes go flying off my face, and and if it looks a little weird, which it probably will at the very beginning, the great thing about this is you go back to the particle comp and mess with the settings until it looks right. And then you want to duplicate that particle comp and create a new one for when he punches Matt. Basically, you want to create a particle hit for every hit, every time Micah hits somebody. And so we will repeat this for every hit in the sequence, and I'd suggest changing the colors of the particles for each hit. That's cool. And then also the direction that the particles are flinging about. So then, and maybe the amount of particles each time, just to kind of make it a little more organic and chaotic. So once that's done, and we're dropping duplicating these comps and dropping them in, changing them and dropping them back in, then you want to create one last particle burst, and you want to actually have it emit particles for a little bit longer, and then have it just be shooting outward so it can go behind Micah on the windscreen at the end. So then we're going to add our titles, and we're going to start by selecting all of our particle layers and turning them off. We're going to be utilizing a lot of the computer's power, especially my crappy computer. So then we're going to turn all of our effects off of all of our layers. We'll create a text layer. We'll say punch. Make sure it's in the font Comica title, which you can find at fontsquirrel.com here. Make it a 3D layer. Move it over to the general area of my face, and then we're going to go to animation presets. We're going to go to text. We're going to go to the organic folder. And we're going to select wind current. We drop that on, and now it's, got a nice breezy style to it. Then what we want to do is we're going to keyframe the scale and the opacity so it bursts into the shot upon the punch. So we'll open this up, go to transform. We'll click the timer next to scale, and then you want it basically to start scaled completely down at 0, and then in just a matter of a few frames burst out, just like that. And then once we're done with that, we're going to keyframe the opacity. So we create a keyframe at the very beginning, or toward the beginning, with the opacity at 100, and then wait till punch kind of leaves frame to set your keyframe for zeros, because you don't want it to be faded completely out before it leaves frame. You want it to be in the process of fading out. Then once that's done, we're going to do some trickery here. Open up text, and then go to animator scale, and then wiggly selector, randomize, and we're going to take correlation and turn that down a bit, and that's going to add a little bit of chaos to the scaling of our letters, which I think looks really, really cool. And then we can mess with the kerning of the text as well, so there's more space in between. And so that looks pretty dang cool. And so once we do that, we're going to just repeat the same thing for every hit in the timeline. Add an oof, maybe. On the other side, I like to add a why, with an, questioning the meaning of this, the purpose of this, and then maybe some crack, and then, the win at the end. So then once we have all of our text layers, we're going to go down here and toggle our switches and modes and make the composite mode for all of our text layers at add. Do that for all of our layers, and then we want to find the channel blur filter and drop that onto our text layer. And we want to set the blur dimensions to horizontal and then increase the blue blurriness. And that creates kind of a yellow burned edge, these yellow burned edges of the text, which looks pretty cool. And then we'll just copy and paste that to all of our text layers. And since we are leaving the background black, just to avoid any problems down the road with empty area of the alpha channel, we're going to create a new solid to be our black background and drop that at the bottom of our comp. So then we want to apply looks next. And so we're going to take our comp and drop it into a new composition. Add a layer, new adjustment layer, looks. Drop looks onto there, and then we're going to apply pilgrimage, which is the preset I'll include with this. And there you have it, our punch out done. Thanks for watching, everybody. Happy punching.
Yeah, technically, Seth, I believe I actually said I wanted to punch you, but this was still pretty enjoyable. I've already made this frame my desktop wallpaper. If you enjoyed this tutorial and you want to learn more about Seth and his work, check out his site at sethworley.com. There's great stuff there, including his web series Adventure Now and The Time Closet. Don't forget, you can always download a free trial of any of the Red Giant products that Seth used in this video at redgiantsoftware.com. And you can get tons of free presets for Red Giant plugins on redgiantpeople.com. In fact, Seth has been putting up a bunch of presets that he's created through his work as a director and as both a visual effects and motion graphics artist. Speaking of free, check out Colorista Free and LUT Buddy, 2 free color correction plugins that we're giving away for, that's right, free. You can find those at redgiantsoftware.com. Finally, I want to mention that if you're looking to keep up with what we're doing at Red Giant, whether it's a tutorial, a contest, a product release, or whatever, just follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and on our blog. Once again, I'm Alan Rabinowitz for RedGiantTV.com. See you next time.